We're at the 5th annual Mindpath CETFA ETF conference. Joining me right now is Dan Richards, Client Insights. Dan, how are you? It's really great to...
I'm just fine. Great to be here.
Dan, you were talking earlier to the group of advisors here assembled at this conference. What did you come here to share with advisors?
So my fundamental message is not a new one. It relates to the need for advisors to really excel in terms of the value that they provide to clients. That's an old story.
That's a really big deal right now, isn't it?
But it is a big deal.
With all the commoditization and transparency, flattening of the business that's happening with technology.
Well, I was talking to an advisor and was referred to a client with $5 million and put a proposal on the table that would have, for financial planning and comprehensive wealth management, would have cost about 89 basis points. And the response from the client was, love your capabilities, the sophistication, and I have no doubt you could add value, but I can't wrap my head around paying the bank $1,000 a week for the rest of my life. Now,
when you quantify it like that.
Not every client has $5 million.
That's right.
But increasingly, what you see is the level of scrutiny that investors are putting on what they're getting for what they're paying is, intensified and will continue to intensify.
Yeah, I think this is really a big issue. Right. CRM2 has helped it along, I think, as well. It's a good thing on balance. It's certainly been a challenge for advisors. Some advisors are doing it really well, are handling the whole discussion about fees with clients extremely well, and yet there's a lot of advisors, of course, who are having a really hard time with it.
So I think
that's really from not understanding where the value proposition is.
Well, there's a bunch of things. Being locked in the past to a certain extent, not looking at it from the investor's point of view. If you and I were talking to Caleb Romanescu, CEO of Air Canada, last year, the Golden Mail CEO of the Year, he would say, Pierre, at Air Canada, we provide superlative value. Our planes take off more or less on time. They arrive more or less on time. We haven't lost a passenger en route for a very long time. Yeah. And so, we're doing a great job. And I'm going to suggest to you, from their point of view, maybe yes, but from their customer's point of view, not so much. Yeah. And that's one of the challenges when I talk to advisors about the value they provide. They're looking at from all the things they do, but not looking at it from the lens of their clients.
I think when you see, the constant commercials on TV from, there's this one firm in particular where advisor and client are sitting across from one another, and client saying, what are you doing for me? Right. And that's got to be putting a lot of pressure in general across the board.
For sure. But you know what? There are some advisors.
It's good pressure. It's
making everybody up their game.
Exactly.
Ultimately, competition does that. So I've had some conversations in the last while on the phone with
it's easy for us to say, isn't it? It's easy for us to have this conversation.
Absolutely. But I've had some conversations recently with some members of the Barron's Top 100 Advisor list in the U.S. And these are, advisors that are exceptionally successful, running books of $5 billion, $10 billion. One, and this was quite extraordinary, running a book of $77.5 billion with a B. Remarkable numbers.
Wow.
But one of the things that we've talked about is what are they doing to achieve that level of success, to deepen relationships with existing clients, to attract new clients. And there are a couple of key themes. And most advisors are not going to hit $1 billion or $5 billion or $10 billion in assets, but the themes that work for those advisors work for every advisor. So the first theme is to define the business that you're in. And used to be most advisors were investment advisors. Today, most would define themselves as financial advisors, and that's fine. But what I hear from the most successful advisors, for their top clients especially, is they position themselves as trusted advisors. So the advisor that isn't necessarily an expert on all the issues, but is able to talk to clients about the hot button issues, the things that matter to them most, which often have nothing to do with their money. It's their parents, it's their kids. So it's a
all
shift
the things
in
that they
mindset.
care about.
It's the things that they care about.
Yeah.
And
why the money matters.
And
why their wealth matters. What it's for in their minds.
And so, as one
what
example,
the high criteria are.
So, one example, I talked to a woman with Merrill Lynch in Dallas, who's been a perennial member of their Chairman's Club. And so, what she tells her clients is, I've lived in Dallas all my life. If you ever have a problem, if you ever have an issue, something that you need help on, I want you to don't hesitate to call me. You can call me at home, doesn't matter. And she's gotten kind of, not a flood of calls, but calls from clients who took her up on that. So one called, and he says, I'm not sure you can help. My daughter has her heart set on going to Duke, very competitive university to get into, and, she needs someone to write a letter of reference, and I've been racking my brains. I don't know anyone who graduated from Duke. Could you help?
Yeah.
So she said, not a problem, absolutely. Picks up the phone, next day, calls her client who graduated from Duke, sets up the meeting. He ended up, kind of writing a letter of reference for this young lady who ended up getting into Duke. Nothing to do with that client's financial affairs, but everything to do.
But that's something that they'd be eternally grateful for.
So that's, I think, fundamentally thinking differently about the business that you're in as a financial advisor. So that's one thing I think that we can learn from. The